Hello, my name is Madison Oriente, and my presentation today will be over the Tamil language of Southeast India. For a little bit about the language, Tamil is an endangered language of Tamil Nadu, India, which traces back to sometime around the 5th century BC. It's a Dravidian language and culture, which is just a locator. It means that it's of the people of Southeast India. Tamil has deep cultural roots, but we are interested in my presentation in exploring what the Tamil linguistic tradition looks like now and how Western modernization has impacted its identity today. In his article, Re-Ethnogenesis, The Quest for a Dravidian Identity Among the Tamils of India, Jacob Pandian presents data on how the Tamil Nadu people have historically revived and reinvented their distinctive cultural identity while examining the ancient literacy traditions and symbols of the people. He explores how these symbols came to represent a historically rich language and how they acquired significance and meaning. Diving into the reinvention of traditions such as a belief in the sacredness of chastity that led to the symbol of a goddess of chastity, allows Pandian to bring into full context ideas of change and distinct revivals of this deeply rooted culture and its linguistic tendencies. Pandian noted that the overall context of the 19th and 20th centuries present a much different cultural experience than was presented in earlier periods, dating all the way back to the 5th century BC, but he argues that the Tamil literacy tradition remained intact enough today to continue to affirm the distinctive linguistic cultural heritage of the Tamils, providing them with a full, truly Dravidian identity. Sujata Morty published an article called Fashioning a Cosmopolitan Identity, Game Shows, Commodities, and Cultural Identity, in 2004, which reveals a flaw in the so-called nationalism of the Tamil people. Morty sees the global popularity of the game show Who Wants to Be a Millionaire and highlights important nuances of replica game shows in India, specifically among the Tamil cultural population. While Tamil is an endangered language, Morty thinks that the westernized commodity-based shows such as this seek to elicit a sort of pseudo-nationalism in search of a retrospective glance at the cultural identity that existed differently in the past than it does now. The host of this show tests the contestants on both transnational and parochial knowledge of Tamil culture. So it's a Who Wants to Be a Millionaire type of show for the Tamil people that tests them in this kind of ancient traditional knowledge. In order to move on, the contestant is expected to give the correct answer in full Tamil sentences, often making up words that have no English equal. The host, however, is not held to the same standard of quote-unquote linguistic purity. Morty goes on to describe how the gender, museum culture, heritage politics, and Tamil relationship structures are all exploited in these game shows in order to create the facade that Tamil culture has not modernized but has stayed the same, untouched by Western influence. So the population concerns are this. 3 years prior to that game show airing in 2004, the 2001 census revealed that Tamil is spoken by almost 76 million people in countries including India, Malaysia, Singapore, South Africa, and Sri Lanka, with 68,700,000 of those speakers of this language living in India. Gabriella Araluzzi examined the mental and verbal processes of joke-telling in the Tamil language versus Western languages in order to produce her own stand on the relevance and shapeability of Tamil cultural tendency. The focus of this article is to compare the mental processes that go into Tamil verbal humor versus those that go into Western verbal humor. In order to assess this, Gabriella Ferraluzzi examined different jokes from each language. For example, a double meaning joke. The wife says to the husband, "You clearly don't like my relatives," to which the husband replies, "But your father-in-law I like very much." She notes that this joke can be translated into any language that has general terms for relative, but that it may not be as approachable in the Tamil language due to different pronouns used. The authors find that a number of thought processes that work for Tamil jokes also work for English jokes, but are sometimes not translatable to other languages. For example, an instance in which some utterances have an expressive rather than referential function, and jokes that consist of taking a word for its literal meaning, when it is obvious that in reality the literal meaning is not the correct context for the statement. For example, "You're building a new house, aren't you?" The answer is, "Does anyone ever build an old house?" There are certain jokes which are definitely untranslatable, like phonological jokes, which hold a different set of mental concepts. Phonological jokes in Tamil are not very common in the West, in which the sound, shape of words, and rhyme and alliteration plays an important role in the incongruity of ideas, or aka, the humorous effect. But we do find this phonological structure to be used more in poetry, so why not use it in humor too? Ultimately, besides phonological jokes that are untranslatable, Ferraluzzi concludes that there are few distinguishable differences between the cognitive processes behind the joke work of the Tamil Nadu language and modern Western languages. The author believes that this finding, along with further research, will challenge the Whorfian hypothesis, which leans on a belief that language greatly influences even non-essential fields of cognition, like joke telling. Okay. All right. The opening of Constantine V. Nakasis's article, "A Tamil-Speaking Heroine," describes the contemporary film industry in Tamil and shares that female actresses who play heroine roles in this industry are never considered to be ethnolinguistically Tamil or competent Tamil speakers. This idea introduces the main focus of the article, a game show that was first produced in 2012 by 3 Tamil men. The purpose of this competitive game show is to find one winner, one female heroine, who speaks in pure, unmodernized Tamil and who upholds traditional standards of the Tamil culture. The author seeks mainly to expose the tensions and contradictions that underlie this televisual attempt to point to the productively fraught relationship between cinema, gender, vision, language, and regional Tamil identity in a post-television, post-liberalization context. Open auditions take place in multiple cities, wherein 100 to 200 young women are asked to display talents necessary to be a heroine in the Tamil film industry, to act out a scene, deliver a monologue, dance to a song, and the like. The winners of each city's audition go on to be fitted and trained as actresses. The last 2 episodes cut in half the number of contestants, provide an on-air stage show of the 5 top contestants, and finally name one heroine of Tamil linguistic purity. See, the show makers considered the female ethno-linguistic lack as a problem both for the Tamil film industry and for the Tamil language itself, and therefore aimed to fill that lack. Nakasis argues that this kind of attention to the presence or absences of a strong female Tamil identity leaves traces of discourse and the politics of the Tamil image on female audiences as well as the contestants involved on screen. Nakasis speaks on the gender of language and the gender of identity that are central to the modern politics which have evolved from 19th century practices of post-colonial Tamil Nadu. She discusses an entanglement of Tamil identity, linguistic purity, and female chastity within the early context of Tamil Nadu culture and practice. Nakasis recognizes that the show's creator, John Vijay, wanted the show to counter the stigmas and stereotypes of cinema that sought to relinquish the female heroine of her power and political and cultural aspects that would sexualize her and take from her identity. However, the author states that after looking further into Dravidian history, it is evident that the show's attempt at this rather fell short, and in fact lends a hand to the very identity and gender politics of language and image that it tried to combat. She leaves us with this question: if Tamil heroine actresses, and even Tamil-speaking heroine actresses, are seen as a lamented lack on the Tamil film screen, then who may appear in her place? As promised, the winner of the 2001 season of the show was not given the lead heroine role in the producer's next big film. She said that the producers asked for a different heroine, and she resigned to taking a character position, that of the heroine's friend. Imagine the mark this leaves on the women of Tamil Nadu, that they will never be truly accepted by their own culture, and that even the entertainment industry and their culture sees them as being inadequate heroines of their own sociolinguistic story. This right here is a picture of the game show's kind of front screen, where they've both what is that called? Okay, well, I can't think of the word. Well, this picture is a picture of a woman struggling to say, I want to become a heroine, in just pure Tamil language. So it kind of just exploits the women of this culture. Okay, and these are my references. Okay. All right, thank you very much.